What is up, guys? Frosty Aussie 0232 here today for another Frosty Features. Today we're going to talk about the new upcoming character to Marvel Strike Force, Viv Vision. So for those of you who haven't watched these videos before, make sure you like and subscribe and share with your friends. What this is a comic book background, the lore of the character coming to Marvel Strike Force. So all of it comes from the comics. Sometimes I touch on the MCU a little bit, and but when it comes to the comics, I mainly stick to Marvel 616, like pretty much always. So there is an alternate version of Viv Vision, not in the 616. The 616 is the main canon storyline for the comic books, not the MCU. That's a whole other conversation, but just be aware. The MCU is not 616. 616 is the comic books, the main storyline in the comic books, and that's where we're going to talk about Viv Vision. So she's coming now on the the Bionic Avengers team with her daddy Vision. So it's a Viv Vision, Hulkbuster, which I did a previous Frosty Features on him. Check him out. Iron Man and Deathlock, who will be coming as a Frosty Feature soon. So anyway, let's dive in. So this is Viv Vision. Viv is short for Vivian Vision. Her first appearance was in Vision Volume 2, Number 1 in 2015. We're going to dive all throughout her background. She hasn't been around long, right? So a lot of these characters we do are from the 60s. Some of them are from the 70s. Some of them go back even further than that. 2015 means it's a baby character and there's not a whole bunch. So we're really kind of just going to run through almost her entire history in the 616, more or less. Powers and abilities, just like she has the same powers as her father, which is density, manipulation, and holographic projection. Density manipulation means she can control her body on a molecular level like Vision can, so he goes non-corporeal or whatever, so he can reach through things or he can fly through things. Holographic projection means that she can create images that can be seen, or what the visions, because we're going to talk about Vision's family today. They don't have a surname, but they're the Visions. The Visions typically will duplicate themselves, so there's a bunch of them. So yeah. Aliases, no duel. I think this is only the second no duel character we've had in I think this is the second no duel character we've had in Marvel Strike Force. No duel means she has no other aliases. If you look it up, some people could call her Vivi or things like that, but at the end of the day, that's the same name. It's just a play on the same name. So she really only has her one alias, which is Viv or Vivian. Affiliations: Champions, Underground, and Red Rooms. Champions is sort of like Young Avengers number 2. It's like a there's Young Avengers and then there's the Champions. They're both kind of young and they work with the Avengers. She was not a part of the Red Room or Underground, but as a champion, they work with other teams a lot, and her actual only affiliation truly is the Champions, but the Champions worked with the Underground and they worked with the Red Room in the Secret Empire, right? So she has affiliations with them, but namely her only actual team affiliation is the Champions. Background: Virginian synthezoid. So, she is Virginian, made in New York, moved to Virginia. Vision becomes the White House liaison for the Avengers, so they can communicate politics and things like that. Because as everybody knows, if you're into the MCU or comics, politics are pretty much always involved when it comes to the Avengers and the acts that the Avengers kind of have to deal with. And Synthezoid is an organic robot, right? So there's androids, there's different types of robots, all sorts of stuff. So Synthezoid is essentially it's a living robot in the Marvel universe. So that comes into play. So when I'm gonna try to hit this. I probably hit this a few times, but when Vision gets his new job as the White House liaison, he wants to look more like an American, look like a family man, and to make those appearances kind of work, he creates his own family. So he makes a wife and he makes 2 kids, Vivian and Vin, right? So yes, that's why she exists in the first place, Viv Vision. She does have a twin brother, Vin. And so this storyline that involves Vision is very convoluted, and it's It's one of those comic book ones where you're like, I don't know if that really needed to happen. Then you'll see what I'm talking about here in a bit. Who died? Her brother and her mother. So her brother being Vin and her mother being Virginia. And once again, they were all made by Vision. They died, and that's sort of what pushed her to become a superhero per se. When they first made, they're more of a family that has superpowers. I mean, they're all Vision, so they all have Vision superpowers. So they're kind of just a family with superpowers. And then after her mom and her brother die, she sort of becomes a superhero more or less. She actually dedicates time to do that. That's when she joins the Champions. Non-gendered but curious. So she has stated that essentially she hasn't put any thought into how gender works or how sexuality works. So she really doesn't have an opinion on what hers is or what that means in general, because once again, she's a synthezoid, not even human. So that really might not even pertain to her. But she does later kiss Ironheart. So whatever Viv identifies as is into girls at least. So there's that neat little tidbit about Viv. Emotionally disengaged, literally, because of the traumatic things that Viv witnesses and has to be around as a superhero. She disengages her emotional core. So a big thing in the comics was Vision trying to kind of come to realization for him as a living robot whether or not he could feel, and he has an emotional core installed so he can feel emotions, famously being the robot that cries, or the android that cries is what they called it. So she as built, she has an emotional core, but she disengages it so she does not have to feel. So she can feel, but she literally physically disengages this part in her so that she does not have to feel emotions, so that she isn't affected by her job. And when you hear why, you'll totally get that. So, relationships. Hank Pym is her great-grandfather. So I'll explain that. I'll go through this and I'll explain how this works. Ultron is her grandfather. Vision is her father/creator. Vin and Viv 2.0. So Vin is her twin brother, and Viv 2.0 essentially is a second version of Vivian. Like I said, convoluted. It's going to be really crazy. Billy and Tommy, Scarlet Witch and Vision's kids, are her half-brothers because they are Vision's kids. And Sparky is their dog, who is also a synthezoid that Vision made. So Vision the synthezoid made a wife synthezoid, a son and a daughter, and a dog. Right? Sort of a super dog. Alright, notable events. The Vision soap opera. So we're just gonna go ahead and dive in here. Okay? So this is all crazy. So he makes, as I previously stated, Vision makes his family, I don't want to say it's as a front, but it is to keep up appearance, but also I think there's a loneliness aspect to it. So at one point, Scarlet Witch, as a gift, because everybody knows Scarlet Witch and Vision's relationship, as a gift, Scarlet Witch gives Vision a digital copy of Scarlet Witch's personality, consciousness, whatever you want to call it. So when he makes Virginia his wife, he puts Scarlet Witch's personality or whatever in there. So she isn't Scarlet Witch, but she has kind of a similar personality, a similar kind of way of being. So anyway, he makes them, they're living a normal life, trying to do whatever. But then the Grim Reaper, Eric Williams, so he's a super villain. He sees that their family is, he did it for looks, right? So they're the poster child. They're the nuclear family. They're living this high life in Arlington, Virginia, and he gets really jealous because he gets really, like I said, convoluted. Vision's a lot of Vision's build is based off of Wonder Man. Eric Williams, the Grim Reaper, is Wonder Man's brother. So he, not only is he mad that they look happy, but also he knows that they are based, they have that sort of lineage from his brother. So he gets angry. He gets angry. So he approaches. So he decides that he's going to kill them. So he just kind of bombards their house one day, and he goes in there and he slices through Viv And when he does that, she goes, parts of her go non-corporeal so that she won't take the damage, but some of them didn't, and it kind of froze her there. So she goes into this like comatose kind of state, and she, more or less, kind of like she dies, but she doesn't. And then Vin kind of fights him off, and then for a little while holds him off, and then Virginia shows up, and remember, she's got the brain makings of Scarlet Witch. So if you anybody has any idea of how Scarlet Witch you know, kind of treats the whole thing with her kids, Virginia goes crazy and beats him to death with a cookie tray. That's right, she has superpowers and he has superpowers, but in the kitchen of their house, she grabs a cookie tray and beats him to death, right? So in beating him to death, she does so in front of Viv and Vin, right? They're like pseudo-conscious. Viv's like dying. Vin can see he's fine, and he beats him to death with a cookie tray. And then so she doesn't want anybody to know, so she takes the Grim Reaper out back and buries him in the backyard. These are superpowered individuals, I'm just saying. She drags him out to the backyard and she buries him, and she hides it from Vision by saying that she's like, oh no, he ran away. And anyway, as things go on, you know, life returns to normal for the Vision family, and Viv's going to school, and she's got a chemistry partner who she doesn't necessarily get along with. Oh wait, so she was dying, so Vision spent a long time repairing her, so he ends up repairing her. She's fine. But they've all witnessed this crazy shit. Anyway, so then later, Virginia gets a packet in the mail. It has a phone in it, and the phone has a video of her burying the Grim Reaper's body. And Viv's lab partner's dad, Leon, is like, hey, I saw that you buried this dude in your backyard. I don't like y'all. Y'all need to leave the state. Y'all need to move out of Virginia. So Virginia's like, oh, I better go take care of this situation. So she goes over to this dude's house, and he wanted to meet with her, and she goes over there, and that's when he's like, you guys need to leave. And then she's like, well, we're not gonna leave, whatever. And ultimately she's sitting there talking to him, trying to like kind of calm everything down or whatever, and he pulls a gun on her and he tries to shoot her. And right when he does that, his darling son walks out to find out what the racket is going on at late at night in their kitchen. And at that perfect moment, cause comics, Leon shoots at Virginia, and Virginia goes non-corporeal. The bullet goes right through her and kills his son. And then of course he blames it on her, and he gets violent with her. She knocks him out, and then she goes back to her house, which was great. So then she kind of reveals everything to Vision, and she like kind of like outs herself to Vision, and Vision's like, oh, okay, well, you know, we'll just kind of cover this up and it'll be fine. And that's kind of what happens. So all of that, everyone's still alive at this point, right? Because I said earlier that her brother and her mother die. So Vision covers all this up, and later Victor Mancha, so let's go back, we have to backtrack a couple times. Once again, convoluted as fuck, right? So if we look at the top, Hank Pym is a great grandfather. Hank Pym and Tony Stark make Ultron, right? It's really Hank Pym in the comics. Makes Ultron, right? So then Ultron is the grandfather. Ultron is making Vision's body in the comics because he wants to be more of a perfect being. So he creates Vision, and the fact that it's Vision and not Ultron was the whole thing. But so sort of Vision is Ultron's son. So Vision, being the father / creator, he is everybody's dad or whatever, right? A lot, I know. So it's important for the next part. So Victor Mancha, who's in the Young Avengers, and I've talked about, that'd be really cool to see him in Marvel Strike Force. Victor Mancha is Ultron's son, right? So he's sort of, in a weird way, Vision's brother. He is kind of sent to spy on the Visions by the Avengers, right? So he's there as in like an internship, and he's kind of like staying with them or whatever. And Victor, I'm having trouble remembering this right now. Ultimately, Victor and Vin are doing something. Vin being Viv's twin brother, and Vin gets killed. I'm having trouble remembering exactly how he gets killed, but so Vin gets killed, and Victor's like, oh my, like it wasn't supposed to happen. It was a total accident. He didn't mean for it to happen. He loses all faith. He gets arrested. He's in jail and he wants to die. And then Vision's pissed because his son's dead. And so he flies down to the jail and he's like, I'm gonna kill Victor. And with Virginia having all this other kind of stuff on her, she decides, well, I'm gonna go down there and I'll stop Vision because he can't do this. And she goes down there and like beats him down there, and she sees Victor and she reaches into his chest and, you know, rips his heart out, and kills Victor in jail. And then she goes to a police officer and she goes, hey, police officer, I killed the Grim Reaper, and then this kid died because of me, and then I killed Victor Mancha. I just wanted you to know. And then she goes home and she literally drinks a cup of water. So this cup of water, she is a synthezoid, so the cup of water disintegrates her insides and she dies. So Vin dies and Virginia dies by suicide, by drinking a cup of water. So then it's just Vision. Oh, and somewhere in there she got mad and she killed the dog. Virginia she gets mad. I think she gets mad at Vision, or she gets mad because Chris died. Leon's son, the little kid that died. She gets mad, and her reaction to that is to beat the hell out of the dog and kill it. So the dog's dead too. Everybody's dead except for Vision and Viv. So Vision and Viv, they move somewhere else. They try to start a new life. That's the soap opera of the Visions. You're welcome. So that's like everything. So it's super convoluted, super crazy. At the end of the day, we're left with Vision and Viv. So from there, we're going to talk about the High Evolutionary. Viv joins the Champions, and the Champions partner up with the Avengers and everybody because the High Evolutionary, which is this being, he's an organism who has slowly upgraded himself and other things to what he considers the perfect being. So he kidnaps people and he tries to upgrade them. He has a thing called Counter Earth. It's like an anti-Earth kind of thing that he's upgraded in his image. And his plan is to crash. His plan is to crash Counter Earth into Earth, blowing everything up. So while being there fighting with the Champions and the Avengers, Viv gets accidentally teleported just by various weapons and technologies or whatever. She gets accidentally teleported to Counter Earth, and she is captured by the High Evolutionary, who, in a really interesting way, decides to upgrade her because he kidnaps people and upgrades them, and he upgrades her and he makes her into a person. So what you're seeing here, this girl at the top here, that's Viv and her people. He turns her into a human. She has no powers anymore, whatever. So the Avengers get there and Vision is able to like get her, and he's like, you got to stay back, you don't have any powers, like stay away from everything. And she's like, F that, Dad, I'm moving on. And she like runs by the fight between the High Evolutionary and everybody else, and she runs into the Higher Evolutionary, which is the High Evolutionary's son, and she convinces him to stop. There's like an engine that's pushing the Counter Earth to Earth. She convinces him to stop. Because he's against his father. He's standing because you know how sons are, screw my dad or whatever. He legitimately sitting there and he's like, I'm not gonna let this do this. If the Counter Earth crashes, I'm gonna die too. She's like, let's stop it. He's like, if you stop it, you're gonna die. She's like, whatever, dude. So she like puts her arms into this machine and she stops the machine, and she like turns into a mist. Everyone thinks he's dead. Right. So then, everyone thinks she's dead, but then she comes back too in like essentially a pocket dimension, and her and the High Evolutionary has essentially ascended to being, he's like living data. He's sort of like a mist almost, and he's stuck unless he could find a connection to the actual world. Well, since Vision built his whole family, he's missing Viv the most or whatever, so he starts building Viv again. So he makes a second Viv Vision. And because of that link, Viv is able to get back to back to Earth, and she strands the High Evolutionary where he was. And so she gets back to Earth. I know this is so much, y'all. I'm sorry. She gets back to Earth, and there's a robot her, and there's a her. But when Vision made her, this is all convoluted and crazy. That's what I'm saying. I'm so surprised they put her in MSF. When Vision makes Viv 2, he has a virus and he accidentally passes it on to her. Since he's more developed and older and can control himself a little bit better, the virus doesn't affect him. But Viv robot is going crazy slowly, and Viv human is kind of just trying to survive, and they're trying to kind of learn to live with each other as sisters or whatever. But then she's slowly going crazy, and she's starting to say really psychotic things, saying that she's gonna kill Vision and she'll kill Viv, and then she gets violent, and she starts getting violent or whatever. And so Viv 1.0 calls the champions like, hey, I think she's gonna try to kill me, I need y'all here, I don't have any powers. And then they're like, bet, we'll be on the way. But Viv 2 was like, you shouldn't have done that, whatever, I'm gonna kill you. And then there's a bit of an altercation, and Viv 1.0 gets a lamp and stabs at Viv 2.0, and she non-corporeals or whatever, kind of like how Viv gets hit with that scythe, where it's only partially, so she gets paralyzed and dies, right? So she dies from the lamp thing, and then the champions show up, you know, just in time. Everything's done, and Vision gets in. He gets Viv's 2's memory bank or whatever, and he's like, oh, you're actually in the right, Viv, this is fine, I'll rebuild her and I'll fix the virus. And as he rebuilds her, he's like, oh, she's brain dead, she has no conscience. And Viv's like, well, the world needs a super powered Viv, so I'm gonna put my consciousness inside that body. So she essentially willingly puts her consciousness back into Viv 1.0, so Viv 2.0 becomes Viv 1.0. So Viv is back where she started at the beginning of this whole thing. And that's what you just heard right there, is 95% of all the thing, maybe even more, maybe more than 95 of everything Viv Vision has ever done in the comics. It's convoluted. It wasn't a very popular run to my knowledge, so I'm surprised. I was really surprised when I saw that she was coming to Marvel Strike Force. But anyway, so that is a bunch on Viv Vision. So let's talk about power level. So the way this works is I like to, Marvel Strike Force really doesn't do power scaling, doesn't really give power levels to characters. But in the context of canon, there is such a thing, right? So multiversal means you can end reality as we know it, be it this universe or another one. Universal, you may be able to end the reality in one universe, hop over to another one, take that one out. Cosmic means you are a threat to planetary bodies or solar systems or something to that, maybe galaxies, with a lot of effort. You have no trouble destroying large planetary bodies, etc. Nuclear, you have the power of a nuclear bomb. With enough effort, you could probably take out a planetary body, but typically you're limited to demolishing cities. Demolishing cities and things like that. With city power, you are strong enough maybe to take out a brick wall. With enough effort, you can take out a couple of towers, maybe take out a building, maybe take out a city block if you try hard enough. That is a really good example of those would be like Spider-Man or Daredevil level kind of characters. And then there's Greg. Greg is the undead Asgardian that Hela spawns in Marvel Strike Force. For the sake of argument, he is human powered. So if I had a full-sized Lego sword and a Red Bull, I could probably take out Greg myself. So in Viv Vision's case, she has all the same powers as Vision, which is limited to kind of that of Ultron, which is limited to that of kind of Tony Stark, which puts Vision and Viv Vision at the nuclear level, right? So she can take out buildings easily. She's got power beams and things like that. But taking out anything much larger than that would be quite troublesome. Also, you can apparently kill her with a lamp post. So be aware if you're in the fight. If you ever find yourself in a fight with Viv Vision in the future in Marvel Strike Force, use a cheat code, grab a lamp post, and you can take out this synthezoid champion. So anyway, that is Frosty Features. That's Frosty Features Viv Vision. I hope you liked it. Let me know if I got anything wrong in the comments. If you liked something, you thought something was crazy, anything, hit me up in the comments, y'all. Like, subscribe, share, let me know your thoughts. I would love to hear from you. Also, I stream on Twitch every Sunday at 8 a.m. Central Standard Time at the link above my head. We have a good time. And yeah, stay tuned for more Frosty features. We'll definitely be doing Deathlock and a few other characters coming up. There's a lot of new characters coming out, so we'll be doing this stuff. All right, y'all. I hope that you all have a fantastic, fantastic day. And most importantly, everyone, stay cool.